Yo, baby, yo, baby, yo. Welcome to Leilani Drinks Around Stuff in my backyard. And I'm Leilani, and I'm here for you today and this episode because it is going to be a fascinating, fun, new episode of new things. And that's the reason why I had to get into this whiskey. Just being at my local Bevmo and seeing this and seeing the name and what it also entailed for about $25. I had to get it, and I did. So tonight we are getting into Rittenhouse straight rye whiskey. And like I said, it'll cost you roughly between 20 and 25 bucks. And what is amazing about that is that it is bottled in bond. B.I.B. And we haven't had a chance to talk about this on the show, guys. So it's very important that we finally hit it up. And with most distilleries, they are charging anywhere from 75 to 100 bucks on a BIB. So to find this for $25, I had to jump in. Now it is made underneath the umbrella of the empire that is Heaven Hill. And it is a distillery that I should just adore and love for what it is and what it stands for. It is family owned and operated. It is now one of the, if not the largest distillery of the United States. And it was just dreamed up and done by Ed Shapiro, a father of 5 of the Shapiro boys that are all part of this legacy now, was an immigrant from Russia in the late 1800s. This distillery is on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. It is in Bardstown, Kentucky. They use the famous Kentucky limestone water, but they are also the ones that have been hit and miss with me. Most of the whiskeys that I've tried from there have been store-bought cookies, and that reference you can go ahead and check out the larceny episode. What was that one? Do you remember the name?
Steal this shit.
Oh, I can't say that.
Exactly.
It was steal this shh. It. He said it, not me. You know. Now, the distillation process on this whiskey is similar to bourbon, they state. Now, this whiskey is stated to commemorate the heritage of Philly's very famous Rittenhouse Square. In 2019, they won the Best Rye Whiskey at the WSWA Spirits Tasting Competition. They also won double gold at the San Fran Spirits Competition and earned 95 points. Also in 2019 at the Ultimate Spirits Challenge. So this whiskey is getting all the accolades. Now 2020 I consider a wash. Maybe it would have done a couple more things. So I'm crossing my fingers that this could be the one from Heaven Hill that changes my mind. Or it could be another. So we will see. But before we get into that, we are going to talk about bottled in bond. This just makes the federal government a guarantor of the whiskey's authenticity. And they also give tax incentives. It has to be American made. The product has to be produced in one of the seasons, and that is basically from January to June or July through December by one distiller at one distillery. It also has to be aged at a federally bonded warehouse under the U.S. government supervision. It has to be aged 4 years, bottled at 100 proof. This product has to also label the distillery and or the bottling facilities and the DSP, the distilled spirits plate numbers, distilled spirits plant numbers. Let me correct that as I think about my driver's license and its plates. The distilled spirits plant numbers. from the production and the bottling facilities have to be stated on the label, which this whiskey all has. So, let's get into this B.I.B., yo! Because you know I like old school. Hello. And they do have a pull tab. It does state on the top that it is 100 proof. You do see the bottled in bonds everywhere. You also see the DSPs and all that good stuff on this bottle. Is it a screw top? For a moment there, I thought it was going to be a cork for a split second. But I guess for $25 on a B.I.B., screwing it is. All right. Ooh, I could smell the whiff of like some smoke and some oaky goodness already. A little bit of vanilla and some caramel. And that came off right off the top. It's the 100 proof, yo. That whiff smelled like larceny. I don't know what it is with these umbrellas of whiskeys, but most of the time they end up smelling and tasting quite similar, and I'm hoping this is not the case because I didn't like larceny. That smelled like muddy swamp water. Yeah, the caramel is definitely strong with this one. And just a hint of tobacco and a little bit of leather. But caramel. Caramel's thick. Who doesn't like caramel, right? Let's do this. A woman's pole. A woman. Oh, okay. You know what? This glass is a little bit bigger. So let me not play. It is underneath my Leilani imprint of the name. Let me screw this top back on. All right. It does smell like muddy swamp water. I ain't gonna lie. Yes, it does. You should know, Swamp Donkey. It has a little bit of that lemon zest, a little bit of floral that's coming. But the more I smell it, the more that swamp water kind of smells coming through. Oh, come on, Kentucky limestone water. Sometimes you do me so good, and sometimes you do me so bad. Let me just taste this. Let me try this again. I don't want to throw it out. That's a plus. Although I do taste a little bit of that orange zest in the back end. It's that bourbon thing that they be doing.
This is a rye.
It is, but it's underneath the umbrella of Heaven Hill, which does a lot of bourbons. I know it's a rye. Oh my gosh.
It's not a bourbon, it's a rye.
Thank you. Captain Obvious over here is pointing out that it's a rye. Cheers.
Oh.
It does have a nice, light, mouth-watery feel for 100 proof bourbon. It is warming my insides. I am tasting a little bit of that floral. The zest is a little bit more mellowed, kind of caramel and a little bit of vanilla on the back end with the heat. Not coming at the beginning like the larceny, but a little bit more towards the end, and I'm sure it's because of the 100 proof. It doesn't feel like 100 proof though, guys. Like I'm not burning up over here. It's not burning me up. But definitely the floral and the orange sits right in the middle and then it disperses. I'm wondering how this is gonna open up. I don't feel that extra kick and spice of a rye. Now, they state that it's similar to a bourbon, but it's 51% rye. So I am used to, when they say a straight rye whiskey, more rye than this, because you can get that heat and that sense of like peppery goodness that I just love about ryes, which I'm not getting from this. And then there's moments like this where I taste it and I'm just like, store-bought cookies, Larceny. You did the same thing. This is the problem. That's why I like local, small batch craft whiskeys doing their own things now. Because sometimes these bigger places, all their whiskeys start tasting the same. And I know people love it, but we're going to have to do another bottle in bond. I'm just going to have to spend that money. Yeah, it's not bad, but it's not as great as everyone, I feel like, has been stating and blowing this up to be. It's an okay rye. And if it's a rye that you're trying to go from a bourbon to a rye and you're kind of rye curious, then maybe you can jump into this because it has a nice little segue. So I get that feel. I understand that kind of like thought pattern of not making it such a hardcore rye for some people. But it's not knocking my socks off. It's not getting into these boots tonight, yo. So Leilani Drinks the Brown Stuff has to give a Rittenhouse straight rye whiskey 2.5 kisses. Because I just don't feel like it is a true hardcore rye. And at 100 proof bottled in bond, I was definitely expecting some explosions all up in my mouth, and it didn't happen. Will I sip it? Yes, I will. But will I love it? That remains to be seen. Cheers.